God bless everyone. This is Minister Hagar, Prophetess Hagar from Eagle Army Ministries. And as you guys can clearly see from the title of the video and also from the picture on your screen, when I asked you guys that question, who can guess what my next video is about? It was about VoltInu. Inu. A couple of you actually got it right. The rest of you, those were really good guesses based on the picture that I showed. But it was in regards to VoltInu. Now, I'm going to get into sharing with you why am I bringing this topic up. So this is back from September 23rd. Let's back up. Before September 23rd, I don't know when it was, but it had to have been about 2 weeks prior. So we're talking about the middle of September. One day I had actually heard VoltInu. That's what I heard. I heard it, one word, and I heard it once, VoltInu. And then at some point, I don't know if it was right after that, but at some point, either later that day, I heard, I believe it was very close to after I heard the word VoltInu. I then began to hear in the spirit the lyrics to the song, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? It basically goes like, how much is that dog in the window? I think it says, I hope that he is for sale, something like that. It's kind of an older song. And so it's basically someone asking the question in the song, how much is the doggy? And, that they're seeing in the pet shop. And I think like they hope that it's for sale, or they wonder if it's for sale. I think basically saying they hope they're going to be able to get a good deal or a price for it. And so the reason why I didn't bring that to you guys is because that was the first time that, this had been mentioned. Usually if I hear something, and it's only been one instance or one time that I'm hearing it, usually I won't just rush forward and publicize that yet, especially with something like this. When it's going to be involving, money and stuff like that, I won't just jump out there and do it or say it. I'll have to wait until, I'll pray, ask for more confirmation, ask for the Lord to confirm it for me. I'll wait for at least another witness or another prophetic voice or something. And so that's why I never shared that with you guys. So that was in the middle of September. And so I was really just waiting and waiting to see where was that going to lead to, or where was that going to go. And then about 2 weeks later, 2 weeks later, when I first woke up in the morning, I heard something else pertaining to VoltInu. And I happen to be specifically in the place of my house. Like there's one specific room in one specific spot where I usually hear a lot from the Holy Spirit and hope from the Lord, that I'm used to being in this one spot where he, often does speak to me or say things to me. So I happen to be in this one particular spot that I usually do hear from the from the Lord. And on September 23rd, I heard VoltInu again, but this time it was different. The first time I heard it in just kind of a more casual tone, and it was in passing, and it was just one word, VoltInu. This time it was like more emphasized, to where I heard at first it said VoltInu. Just like, guys, when James Bond says Bond, James Bond, it was exactly like that. Except was using VoltInu, so it was like Volt, as if to like make sure that I'm clearly recognizing that this is being emphasized. It was like VoltInu, okay? That you're not just imagining or hearing things. And then that blue link is just the link I pulled up for the song, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? And then also during the same time frame, I heard a combination of two songs, but they were being sung together as if it was one song. So it was the song Don't Worry, Be Happy. And then the lyrics to a second song was merged with that said, every little thing is going to be all right. So we have on the table two separate occurrences of hearing VoltInu, with the second time it being a little bit more boldly stated and emphasized. And then also with the song How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? I Hope He Is For Sale. And then I also heard either the same day or around this time frame, two different songs, but their lyrics were merged together as one, as far as Don't Worry, Be Happy, and Every Little Thing Is Gonna Be All Right. Okay? And so because of this, I began to ask the question, is VoltInu one of the underdogs in our doggy basket, right? So far, we have all of these different dog assets, and that is exactly what happened with Luna. When the Holy Spirit, I believe, began to start to highlight Luna for me, and then we ended up getting this sign that described Luna as a dog. So far, we're having all of these: Zion Oil being described as a dog, now Luna being pictured as a dog. We already know all of the dog coins and dog altcoins are already dogs. And Volt is obviously already a dog. And so when I heard that, that led me to believe that VoltInu was also going to be one of the prophetic dogs in our doggy basket as far as the season of the underdogs. Okay. Now, coincidentally, right when I felt I had confirmation to go ahead and share this with you, Currency 365 ended up sharing some updates the exact day I was intended on recording this video. He actually posted some updates regarding VoltInu. And this is just, I guess, a statement that the developer or owner or maker of VoltInu put out. And a couple of things stood out to me about his statement. So if we just want to kind of look at some of this right quick, and I'll tell you what stood out to me. So he's just talking about that, we're obviously in a bear period, in a bear market right now, but he's actually describing us being excited during this bearish period because it's given him time to prepare and position himself and get together all of these things that he has planned to implement for Volt. That way, when the market does flip and turn bullish, his coin or his asset is going to be fully prepared and ready to become profitable and to grow, and prosper. And so it almost kind of gave me the feeling of how we do things in the kingdom, where things are almost seen backwards to the world, or the opposite, where, you know, things that seem like a bad thing or downward for the world is usually an opportunity, or something for us to take advantage of or prosper in for the kingdom. And then he just goes on, explaining the journey of VoltInu. I'm not that familiar with it. I haven't been keeping up with it, but he was just sharing a journey about, I remember those people fearing a migration. I guess they did a migration from one asset to another, or a transition very similar to what Luna did, how, something happened to the original one and then they made a second one. So these sort of changes, and he's saying he remember when that happened and they had to change and migrate, that a lot of people did not believe in it, and they ended up selling all of their vote because they had never seen a successful migration. And he's saying, I remember those people who sold their, whole bag of vote the weeks before the migration because they were sure it was going to be the end. But I also remember all the people who bought back into Volt in the last week before the migration and all the way up after. I remember all the new holders who FOMO'd, fear of missing out, and when they saw the migration was a success. Okay, so what I'm getting from what he's explaining, someone could take it as like a bitterness, but I also in this see, it's almost kind of very much like an underdog tale, right? He's talking about how people didn't believe in, their asset, because it was of so little value, and then they had to make that transition. People didn't believe that it was going to work. But then once people saw like, oh, this actually did work, then people wanted to come back and return and to invest, and then it ended up being a huge success. And then they had these price increases, and everything worked out fine. So I'm getting underdog vibes from their story and their situation, right? Very similar to a lot of the other underdog prophetic assets, where they don't necessarily have these huge backings and corporations and a lot of money and all this stuff behind them. It's not necessarily worth that much right now, but it's like, and when the world sees that, because they judge everything off of what they see by sight, we walk by faith, they walk by sight. So whenever the world sees something that doesn't automatically look appealing and attractive and popular and valuable off the bat, they automatically reject it. Okay. Belief and faith is not something that they really exercise, and if it is, it's usually in the wrong thing. And so, I'm not saying the Lord said this, but when I read it, it was very reminiscent of an underdog type story. And then just some keywords that were popping out to me that he was using at the bottom, where he says, when I announced the launch window of a tool involving the whole crypto space. So he has a lot of different initiatives and things planned and in development in place, not just a coin sitting there to hope and wish that they become valuable one day, but they actually have projects and things that they're building to, scale up the profits of that asset. Very, very similar to Shiba and what they're doing. And so even the term window, and I know launch window is a time frame, but for our point of view, we also have been kind of dealing with this idea of window and prophetic doors and portals, right? And so then he even goes on to use the word gate, which we have also been, representing the same thing: gates, doors, and windows. I'll let you, he's basically saying he's not going to publicize this second how successful all of these initiatives are going to be, that he'll let people figure it out once they've missed out on the opportunity, or he'll let people, figure out how big it's going to be when it actually happens. And then he's saying, I'll let you figure out what bigger entities waiting behind the gate. So he's basically using almost this paranormal or supernatural type language, even prophetic type language, to describe all of the initiatives and things they have planned to be released to help VoltInu grow. And then just some other things that stood out to me. They made a post on Twitter that I actually ended up coming across that someone shared, in which she said, Volt is supercharged. Volt is a supercharged Inu. So guys, even the type of dog, Volt is the dog. The Volt dog is actually an Inu. So it is inside of that Inu family. It didn't just say, oh, this is Volt the dog or any random dog. It happened from their point of view. They developed another Inu. And so he's just saying Volt is a supercharged Inu reviving the crypto spirit. Okay. Join us, sit back and enjoy the burns, utilities, and memes. So very similar to Shiba when it was getting off the ground and in its developmental stage, and all of the initiatives and utilities and burns and functions that it came up with to try and launch to pour into the value of Shiba. So what stood out to me was him speaking of Volt, which is this electricity being used to charge and revive the true crypto spirit and bring it back to life. They have a lot of things where I guess VoltInu is going to be involved with supporting the crypto space in general, but they're just going to be the figurehead behind it. And it really reminded me, guys, of when we were talking about resurrecting Shiba from the dead, and it definitely reminded me of the latest thumbnail that I used for that, mission that we did. And I actually ended up coming across this thumbnail, which a lot of my pictures I do believe are prophetic. I don't believe that I just randomly choose them. I believe they are sent to me prophetically. And so it really did remind me of that picture of reviving and recharging and bringing something back to life. So those were just a few things that, stood out to me and caught my eye, with obviously the main foundation being what I believe I heard in the spirit, and then getting that second confirmation. So I know I went on for a little bit there, but just to recap as far as what I was personally experienced and heard, I heard on two separate occasions, 2 weeks apart, Volt Inu, and then the second time it was emphasized Volt, and it was much more prominent. It was like a stronger, more forceful voice, Volt Inu. And keep in mind, guys, this is not even something I've been paying attention to. I don't own any of it. I haven't been following it. I mean, I see it here and there in passing, but I had no personal attraction, or I hadn't even been keeping up with like what people have been saying about it. I'm literally clueless when it comes to this. So, and then me also hearing how much is that doggy in the window. I hope that he is for sale. And so I do believe that that could have been not just bringing the subject matter up, but talking about hoping that it's for sale, meaning we could catch it at a cheap price or get it at a very affordable price. And so just to wrap things up, some key points I wanted to touch on before I let you go was, for some of you, you may already have had an established seeking for confirmation regarding Volt, right? For people out there, if you've already been praying and you've already been seeking the Lord and you've already been looking for an answer, or kind of like a confirmation if this is something that you should at least consider or get into, this probably does serve as a confirmation for you. For those of you who actually already are holders, this is probably just encouragement for you. And so beyond people who have already, been seeking confirmation and already do hold Volt Inu, the things that I would suggest at this point to go from here, obviously, number one is prayer. That is always a great place to start with everything, right? We know that. So at this point, I would kind of begin maybe a conversation with the Lord, a prayer, say up a prayer or two regarding it. Number two, it is very affordable right now, extremely cheap. Like, it's so cheap. It's way cheaper than Sheba, and Sheba is actually very affordable and cheap. So that gives you an idea how, easy this would be to accumulate and buy at this time. And so this could have been the Lord telling us, for those who can or want to or are able to, this would be a great opportunity to get in at the bottom. It's almost kind of very similar to when Sheba first came out. I was unaware of, I didn't even get into the Sheba situation until like a year after it was released and developed. So there was a lot of people who were able to get in on it when it first came out at that ground level. And for those who did that, when it took off, like, they really were able to get good profits out of that situation. So this does really seem like the very beginning stages of very similar to where Sheba was when it first came out, all the way at that ground floor before it took off. Number three, I am going to caution you from what I can see. I'm going to put out a warning and a caution that this does seem to be a little bit more of a difficult asset to purchase for now. As far as where they are now, they're not really offered on a lot of the mainstream platforms and a lot of the easier, to obtain assets. It's just a little bit more difficult to purchase. You got to go through a little bit more hoops and loops to get it, and it's available on less platforms. Okay, so I do want to just put that out there for people, because I know from the Lord's perspective, this whole transfer is not something that's meant to be stressful. I want to make sure you understand that. Okay, if this something that's going to be too expensive for you to obtain right now, or too difficult and stressful for you to try and find and get, and all this other stuff to where it becomes a stressor, that's probably a good sign that it's just not meant for you specifically, okay? So if this is going to turn into something like that, don't even worry about it. And actually, that's so funny, because those two songs were included around the same time frame. Don't worry, be happy. Every little thing is going to be all right. So, that I'm sure was a general message of encouragement for us to not worry during these times and as we're still waiting and we still need this help. However, it could have also been specifically tied to VoltInu, meaning that if this is going to become difficult for you, it's not something you need to stress yourself out to try and chase or obtain, okay? And I also want to remind everyone that everyone doesn't have to get every single prophetic asset all at once, okay? They're going to be, we all are going to be in different places and have not necessarily all have the same thing. We're going to have different things, okay? This lady over here may have silver, gold, and XRP. This gentleman over here may have a lot of Sheba and XLM. So we're not all going to necessarily all have the exact same things, okay? So, and it definitely doesn't have to happen all at once. So don't worry and stress if you can't chase and gather up every single prophetically mentioned asset out there or investment out there. Do what you can, be obedient, do what you can, get the ones you can, get the ones that are more readily available to you, and then just trust the Lord from there. And oh, okay. So this is another thing. With some of these things, we can't even afford and we're not even meant to get right now. It's more for keeping in mind or keeping a list of for when Sheba begins to bring us in those returns. We kind of know what to do with some of that money, right? We know to get into XRP, to add on to XRP, to get into XLM, silver, etc., stuff like that. So with some of this stuff, it is more of keeping a list for later on down the road. So like I said, it's hard for me to know specifically what each person should do at this point regarding VoltInu. I can only give with you what I have so far. And if I get anything else, of course, I will update you. And that's why I said everyone has to take their own journey of prayer, of what financial situation they're in, how easy and available are these assets to obtain. If it's too difficult and too many hoops and loops for you to jump through personally to where you're stressing yourself out, that's how you know it's not for you, or just not for you at this time, okay? But for others, you may be already in it, and this may be an encouragement to, yeah, go load up and get some more. It's so cheap right now. For some of you, this may be very easy to obtain. You may already have the platforms and mechanisms that offer it, And like I said, it's so affordable. It's not like you're going to risk losing anything. It's very, very cheap right now. And then just the last thing is what I would recommend is at this point to just keep our eyes and our ears out for more prophetic messages, more updates from the Lord, and anything additional he would have to share. And then also, if this message has you immediately convicted, where you feel like you're convicted and need to act and move on this particular investment, by all means do so. We all have to kind of, calibrate all of this to our own personal situation. So if this convicted you to, oh, yes, let me get in this right now, I know I need to do this, then by all means go ahead and do that, as long as it's not causing a confliction in these other areas. And so one last note I wanted to include with you guys is how when it comes to technical questions about the technical aspect of these things, I'm definitely not the best source or place for those questions. And you guys have not really been, bombarding me with technical questions. I just wanted to put this out there so going forward, I don't begin to get a lot of questions about the technical aspects of it all. Because mainly, a lot of this stuff does just come through the Holy Spirit and wherever the Spirit guides me. So as far as like the mechanisms and the technicals and like which platforms offer which investments and price points and all that stuff, I feel like there are other messengers out there that's more of their specific area. So you definitely want to go to a better source probably if you have a lot of those questions. And also, what was I gonna say? Yeah, that would just be a in a better position to kind of give they're giving information that is more geared towards the physical and the technical side of things. As far as platforms where you can get this, how do you do this? What price points are we looking at? What price? Now, if the Lord mentions something to me regarding these things, of course, yes, I will share that with you guys. And so I just wanted to put that out there, kind of a disclaimer, so we know going forward. But as far as like in the comments, you guys, they're open. You guys are more than welcome and free. Like if you have a question about something and you want to post a question, to like ask other brothers and sisters or other believers, I don't mind if you guys like dialogue amongst yourself and help each other out and post in the comments of the videos or in the community section. You guys are more than welcome and free to like ask each other questions and help each other out. I just wanted you guys to know as far as what I can, do for you in that way. If you don't see me answer the questions, and I'm not being rude or ignoring you, it's just that I'm just not the right source for those types of things. And honestly, even if I was, I would never even have time to address that side of things and also the prophetic side of things. So God bless you guys. I pray this information lands exactly and reaches exactly who it needs to reach, and that the Lord will have everyone, at peace, and give everyone clarity or conviction or instruction of whether this even applies to them or not and how they should proceed forward. God bless you guys. I will catch up with you, Lord's willing, in my next video. Bye.